Okay, guys, alternate ending. Take 43.
With so many movies on the net and TV, it's kinda hard being up and film savvy. Do you catch a show while you're on the go? And how do you know what to keep or what to throw? How do you know what to keep or what to throw? Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Now! Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternating. We're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm film school dropout Robert Jarsinski. Across from me is our casual moviegoer, Carrie Jarsinski, and our very own critic in residence, Tim Brayton. With Cars 3 zooming into theaters this weekend. That's my pun for the episode.
It's
better be.
It's not actually a pun, no.
We're taking a look at our top 5 Pixar movies, but before we begin, Carrie, you're ditching us.
You're leaving.
You're going to
Italy.
I hate that I have to leave the country and just go to some sort of like beautiful landscape and place with no kids and no responsibilities. It's tugging on my heartstrings right now. Yeah.
This is the first I've heard that you're not taking the kids. This is news to me. Allora. That's the only Italian I know. Buongiorno.
What's allora?
I don't know what it means.
You don't
I think
know
it's
what
just
it means.
something you throw in every once in a while.
Here and there.
I think
feels
you
like
literally
a
just made it up.
No, it's
I think
a
you're like, it ends in a vowel, but I can sell
it's a
it.
thing.
So when I first met Rob, he was like, I'm really fluent in Spanish. And he was like, orale. This is what you say when you're in like a gang, like a Mexican gang. Orale. I was like, I don't think that's actually factual.
I was fluent in movie Spanish and in like crime prison dramas with people of Spanish people in it. It was allora.
He was vindicated several years later.
Now I'm mixing Italian and Spanish.
So if you only know movie gangster Spanish, you should have at least known pendejo.
Pendejo, yeah.
I know that
That's
one,
a
and
thing.
you
But
cannot
orale.
say that in English.
You sure
Orale
can.
is definitely a thing.
And so...
But where are you going? Where are you headed?
So I'm going to Italy with my mom and my sister and my aunt. So I had a sad thing happen a couple years ago, and my mom's very young in my mind, but she always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. And she was like,
Machu Picchu's not in Italy.
You're going to the wrong place.
Shoot.
Is there still time to change your tickets?
I don't know. It's in like a week. So she was like, that's like my dream to go there. And then a year ago, she was like, we're like, let's go. We actually have some money that we could go. We wanted to take her. And she's like, yeah, I'm too old. My sister and I were devastated. Immediately, we're like, too old for what? Like, she's like, it's just a lot of walking. I'm like, you're not too old. Like, what do you mean? And so we're like, well, where's the place that you want to go now? And she said Pompeii.
All right.
And so we said, let's go. So like that day, we were literally like on it. We're like, so like a year ago, we planned this trip, and Rob a year ago was very on board and supportive. And now that it's creeping in, I think he's realizing that
I've come to my senses. It's not going to be
Rob's
pleasant.
a good dad, but not that good. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to come back and tell you guys about our adventures.
And it'll be cool. Rob, you and I can show the girls like all sorts of gory horror movies.
Yeah, you've been wanting to go on a Kubrick binge watch. Let's bring the girls
I was
along.
going to say, why not show them some Friday the 13th? Got to start them somewhere.
I'm not in disagreement of this. Rob will have to deal with the aftermath of bedtime from that, and so show them whatever you'd like.
Well, I can pretend that's not going to happen for a bit, and we can dive into our worth mentioning. What is the worth mentioning segment of the movies we've seen since the last episode? Which are the ones we want to talk about most? They could be great movies. They could be terrible. We share them with you either way. Who wants to go first? Care. I know we sat down and watched a movie.
We watched just recently a movie that I was eager to talk about because I had read Tim's review of it, and we saw Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, 2017's Beauty and the Beast, 2 hours, 9 minutes, IMDb 7.5. Very high.
7.5 is profoundly generous.
Certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes at 71%.
Fresh is utter horseshit.
Directed by Bill Condon, who brought us some Twilights, Dreamgirls, Gods and Monsters, Kinsey. Interesting that he got picked up for Beauty and the Beast. Starring Emma Watson.
He's professionally the guy you get to make your movie after the guy you had to get your movie quits.
Is that what it is? That's what
that is definitely what happened on I think it was Dreamgirls.
Okay.
It's like his last musical. So.
Okay. Starring Emma Watson, Dan Stevens, Luke Evans, Josh Gad. Huge cast. Kevin Kline, Ian McKellen, Ewan McGregor, Emma Thompson, Stanley Tucci. It goes on and on and on.
Huge.
Audra McDonald.
Yes.
Shout out for my girl Audra.
Yes.
Who
very
plays
good.
the Beast?
That's Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens.
Haven't seen him in a whole lot else. He was in
he's
Colossal.
a TV person, I believe.
Okay.
He is in Colossal when you guys go and you see that, and I recommend that you do.
You keep telling me that.
I will
think
see it when
it's
I can
the
see
first movie of 2017 to surpass 1 billion worldwide.
Yep.
I don't know.
Really?
Almost certainly will end the year as the second highest grossing film of the year.
Which is interesting because nobody's talking about it.
Is that a joke?
Colossal?
Oh.
Beauty
I'm
and the
back. I'm
Beast.
back to Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
Colossal certainly is not.
Colossal's going to
Sorry, I
make
was like-
$500,000.
I was like, wait.
Colossal made the $13 that I paid to go see it. and that's it.
That makes more sense because I was like, it's weird that you're saying that. That
The
makes
amount
more
of money
sense.
Colossal will have made will pay for like 1/2 of 1 minute of the CGI in Beauty and the
That
Beast.
makes a lot more sense.
Carrie, you're a fan of the 1991's Beauty and the Beast. Did I got the year right?
The original.
right.
Yeah, the original. What did you
Loved
think?
it. Oh, just wait.
Sure. Start with the original.
So the 1991 animated one,
A masterpiece.
loved it. Just everything about it.
It is to me the greatest Disney film made during our lifetimes.
No, but that's probably another episode.
That
of
is
this.
definitely
That's another
not a
episode.
conversation for this moment.
For now, it's not the best, but it's up
But it
there.
is.
It's close.
It's a very good movie.
It's very good. And this one, I had already read your review of it, and so I knew you hated it.
I hate it.
It was like 1.5 stars you gave
1.5.
it. Yeah. And people appreciated the review that you gave because I think with a lot of these big blockbuster films, people are eager to come in and jump in and say, I loved it. It was great. It was all of this because it's it's a marketing thing or whatever. And I know you didn't. And I think people appreciated that you gave
And I mean,
your honest feedback.
there are certainly some people who've left comments on that review to the effect that I am a giant dickhole.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That was me. I left that. No, I'm kidding. No, but like somebody was like, "Oh, party pooper," like that kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
and so I see that in this. I see the party pooper aspect, but I also see your points.
So you see that I was pooping on a party that maybe needed a little bit of poop on
there
it?
was just like a little bit, like a shart.
Okay.
But not like a full-on poop. That's not what I was looking for. So in this one, for me, it was like, what else could it have been? It was a very grand, like the money that obviously went into this. It was grand. The sets, everything was just so of epic proportions. I actually thought, I don't remember what you said about Emma Watson. I thought Emma Watson's performance was good for Emma Watson's performance. The Beast, my biggest downsides of this movie were the Beast as
Agreed.
being like, what are you? Are you like a
Right.
stuffed, like, I felt like he was like one of the, like
I feel bad for Dan Stevens. Like,
yeah.
that's what do you like? You're not even getting any time like on screen. What is that thing that he's wearing?
Mo-capped it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
But
that.
he looked
that
like a
was terrible.
taxidermied,
It looked
taxidermied buffalo.
It's very bad.
It's really, really
very, very
bad.
bad.
And so that was a downside for me. I don't know also what you said. There were a couple pieces that they added in that weren't in the original story about like the backstory of
Right.
of
They gave everybody
Belle.
fucking daddy and mommy issues, and
Yeah.
I don't like daddy issues.
Yeah.
I need to.
I had
for
a-
1 year we need all screenwriters to take a pledge not to have characters whose dads were assholes.
Right.
It needs to happen.
I had a lot of so Tim, don't strike me. I had challenges with the original in like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like how would they not know that this? And it was just this movie took it to a whole other level where they tried to explain things and it just made it make less sense.
Like, no, because they all knew the castle was there before
Yes.
the witch made them have amnesia.
Yeah,
and
like-
they thought their wives were dead, but their wives were actually just Mrs. Potts.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for a crap ass movie.
yeah, I mean, like why
I
go to those?
crap ass though.
So the first couple minutes of the movie, I was like, "Oh, Tim, it's not that bad," is what I'm thinking to myself. And then it just kept going on and on and on, and I was like, "Wow, like this really wasn't necessary." I probably give it more like 2.5 stars, but yeah, it was.
I don't think it was as bad as you said in my mind, but at the same time, I understand your points. And I would say it was just nice to see a recreation of. It was nice to see a recreation. How would they have done it differently? what could they have done it differently that would have made you happier?
Not making it.
Not making it right.
I wish they would have just remade it shot by shot like they were clearly attempting to and not added all the extra crap.
I mean, part of it, like, the added crap is annoying, but, like, I think it was doomed from the get-go because you have these beautiful, expressive drawings. Like, think of the objects. Like, setting aside the beast, who is just a shit show.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Flat out not working. Like, take the candelabra.
And the teapot, too.
The teapot. Creepy motherfucking Cronenberg shit going on there.
I liked the teapot, Mrs. Potts.
We disagree on the teapot.
We disagree on the teapot. I mean,
yeah, I thought
it's
all
hard
the
to make an
inanimate
animated
objects were
teapot
awful. I didn't
in
like
a
the
live-action teapot.
And it's so hard that they failed.
That's so. I don't know.
I find the objects to be very, very, very unappealing.
Well, here's my other part too. Is this is my biggest part of any movie? Is am I hooked by the relationship of the characters? And this was an absolutely no for me.
Sure.
I'm not hooked by Emma Watson and the CGI beast at all to even care if they end up together.
And I feel the same way. And it's really weird to me because Emma Watson, of course, we know her because of the Harry Potters. Plenty of experience acting against green screen. Like, she literally learned this as a child, like how to play against something that's not there. And like, you could just see her gaping, just like, maybe there's the fucking candle, or maybe there's the beast. Like, you can tell she doesn't know what she's looking at, and it's really upsetting.
Yeah, I gotta blame the director a little bit probably for that, and then yeah, certainly she has some blame as well too. Yeah, I didn't buy the. And this is, again, Tim, don't strike me. The original, I had trouble, like, why does she like the beat? Why does she fall in love exactly?
Yeah, it didn't build for me like it did in the animated
worse.
one.
Like, this is much, much worse.
This is worse because in the animated film, it's animated, so there's already less realism. It's also, the narrative is sketchy enough that it feels like a fairy tale.
And it feels like time passes,
Here
too.
they're specifically trying to make a feminist version of a story. Like, in the original, they're not. Here they absolutely are, and you can't. Yeah. You cannot retrofit this story.
And he's learned in this one, and in the original, he is not, and she teaches him to read, and like, there's a little bit more of the
time element was really big for me that you mentioned, too, where it was just that it felt like, it was like they were trying to mimic the animated film, and in doing that they skipped large chunks of time, and so however it transitioned time in the animated was better. So in this one it was like, he's really, really mean, and then all of a sudden it's like the next scene, now he's nice.
Yes.
And it was like, and now he's injured.
Really quick. Any highlights, Tim?
Of this motion picture?
Like,
I liked the part at the end when the words started scrolling up and I could leave the room.
I actually liked Luke. Is it Luke Evans?
Luke Evans
as Gaston.
Is pretty solid.
Pretty solid singer and singing, and I do. He was a great Gaston.
I do think the voice acting was mostly on point. I think Ewan McGregor's Lumiere was good. Ian McKellen was like the laziest conceivable choice for that character, but he did a good job with it.
It's interesting. Yeah. I actually found Ewan McGregor an odd choice. Why do you pick a Scotsman to do a French accent?
Because they picked Jerry fucking Orbach to do him in the first one. It's all about all about a ludicrous cartoon French accent, and I liked it.
Any other thoughts?
No, it's one that I wouldn't recommend seeing in theaters. I would.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad we were thinking about seeing it.
Catching it if you love Beauty and the Beast, but catch it for free if you can, or for cheap if you can. Yep. And what did you see anything worth mentioning?
I did. I saw a movie that I've had the disc from Netflix for like 3 months. A very, very bad 3 months.
It's really inefficient.
I am wasting so much money. Yeah. It's horrible. Finally got around to watching it. A Korean zombie movie called Train to Busan. Came out last year. The reason I watched it initially is because I thought I got it from Netflix was because I thought it might factor into my year-end lists. So that's how long I have been like not watching this movie. Really, really terrific zombie movie. It's so a bunch of characters, of whom the one we care about the most is this little girl and her sort of, again, bad dad. It's a daddy issues movie, so there I go being a hypocrite. But this like workaholic guy in finance is going to go to Busan in Korea with his daughter, like as some feeble last-ditch attempt to make her love him. She's like, I think 8 or 9. And so they're on the train to Busan, hence the title. And what should happen but a zombie outbreak? And so all of these people on the train have to crawl their way through the train, like basically move from car to car until they get to the car at the end where they can like stage a defense against the zombies. Not much to it. It's just straightforward. The zombies will kill you, so don't get killed by them. Really cool the way it's choreographed within the space. Too long.
Is it like Snowpiercer, only with zombies?
It's kind of like Snowpiercer with zombies.
That's what I was going to ask.
Only with less meat. Like Snowpiercer clearly is a social. No, it's clearly a social like satire, and this is not.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah.
It's too long. It feels like it's going to end at about the 70-minute mark, and then it goes on for 2 hours till 2 hours. But really, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about zombie movies. I love them. And
Yeah, I do
this
too.
This is like the best zombie movie, like probably since 28 Days Later.
Have you seen World War Z?
I have seen World War Z.
Did you like that?
I like a lot about it. I think that its zombie-ness is not very impressive to me.
Yeah. The story was good, but the
It's a
zombie-ness
good
wasn't.
globe-trotting action adventure film
Right.
that should maybe not have zombies.
Have you ever seen, what's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
End of Days?
No. Zombie. Oh, is his daughter's
Maggie.
name? Maggie.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't. If you love zombie movies, never see Maggie. So
I also love Arnold Schwarzenegger appearing in places where we don't expect Arnold Schwarzenegger to appear.
not here.
Okay.
No. So, but yeah, that's good to know.
Train to Busan, 4 stars, totally worth seeing.
I
if you care
will.
at all about zombies.
Well, remember you can find more details about all the movies we've watched at our website, alternateending.com. That's alternateending.com. Before we head to our break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. Direct from our website, you can head to our Patreon page, which provides you access to a ton of perks. You may want to make us watch a movie, have Tim write a review, pick your own episode topic. You can do it all from our Patreon page. Also, I want to thank all of our listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com, click on our Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. Since our last episode, here are the things that were purchased. We had a cell phone device, or I guess it's more of an iPad parental control, the Circle by Disney. I've heard good things about that. Too much time with the kids on the old iPads. Also had a couple books purchased. The Last Days of Night, a novel, and also another novel, The Little Paris Bookshop. Had some sports paraphernalia purchase, an NFL Chicago Bears, the Bears, game day short sleeve tri-blend tee extra large gray shirt. Appreciate that. Video games, not familiar with this one. I gotta get back into gaming. Armored Core 2. A couple additional books, The Gag Man, Clyde Bruckman and the Birth of Film Comedy, and Valerian, the Complete Collection, Volume 1. I'd welcome catching up on some Valerian before the upcoming movie hits screens. Thanks, guys, for all your purchases. When we get back, our top 5 Pixar movies.
Welcome back to Alternate Ending. We are celebrating / maybe not entirely celebrating the release this weekend of Cars 3, the 18th film by Pixar Animation Studios, the third film in everyone's favorite Pixar series. No one has any bad words to say about the Cars films.
Not at all.
Famously.
Nope.
So they are making a third Cars, and that's its own thing. I just want to say I'm kind of not dreading it, which I feel is maybe unfortunate of me, but I don't know. I think it might be worth possibly watching.
I know I said no more puns, but do you think they'll get it back on racetrack?
You ruined it by saying racetrack.
If you hadn't said racetrack,
Yeah.
you might have had something there, but now you're sad, and
Now
I feel
it's
bad
sad.
for you.
I'm impressed with everything Pixar has done in its short history. I read that they have 13 Academy Awards out of those 18 movies. That's a pretty good.
Some of those are for
17.
shorts. Some of the Academy Awards are for short films.
Oh, I didn't know that they had. I thought only recently they won for that Piper.
Oh no, they were winning for short films before they were even making features.
Interesting.
Piper the Little Bird.
Piper the Bird.
Yeah, the bird. That's a
Look
cute
at
one.
me, man.
Yeah.
Look at me.
They've had other shorts where I felt like we're deserving.
What about the lamp?
The lamp.
The lamp.
Oh, the lamp.
Luxo Jr. sadly did not win an Academy Award,
no.
although it is my favorite Pixar short.
What about the squirrel?
Squirrel is
DreamWorks.
not Pixar. Blue Sky.
Blue
the Scrat.
Sky.
You mean the little saber-toothed squirrel? With
Yeah.
that's.
He's
I
so
hate the Blue Sky
funny.
movies, but I do like the Scrat.
I know. It's
Tim,
the
this
best.
is your area of expertise. Walk
It
us
is.
through, if you don't mind, the history of Pixar, if you can.
Sure. So Pixar initially began very inauspicious. I have an inability to speak. Very inauspicious beginnings for Pixar. They were founded basically because Apple made rendering software. And Apple was like, we need to demo our rendering software so all the people will want to buy it. And Steve Jobs, brilliant asshole that he was, decided, hey, maybe rather than just demoing like a hand waving or whatever, let's make cartoons. Let's do rendered cartoons. So he looked around for an animator, found John Lasseter, who was a Disney alum who was bitterly unhappy because in the early to mid 80s, everybody who worked for Disney was bitterly unhappy. So Lasseter got hired away to basically make product demonstrations for Apple's software. And very quickly, these little short cartoons that he was making became so popular as cartoons that Apple basically bailed on the whole selling software thing and was like, hey, let's maybe go ahead and do this thing as a movie studio. I don't remember exactly when they broke away from Apple. They are certainly not an Apple-owned company anymore now. Of course, they're owned by Disney. That's been since 2006, I think. So the short films were all like tech demos that just got away from their creator because they're just so damn good. And come 1995, the Pixar Brain Trust wanted to make, or probably come 1992 or 93, wanted to make a feature film, show off what they could do, got money from Disney. Out comes Toy Story in November 1995, and the rest is history. And they've been making short films and features for the 22 years since.
That's got to be fun to come back as John Lasseter, to be like
to have
fired.
to have gone from guy who's getting shit on during Black Cauldron to being the literal chief artistic guide of all of Disney is like a thing.
Yeah.
For real.
Because back in the day too, Kara, is if you weren't doing hand-drawn animation, if you were talking computers or things like that, you were thrown out of the room.
Well, no, I mean, Lasseter did hand-drawn.
Oh, he did hand-drawn?
Lasseter's...
I thought he was pushing for, like, he wanted CGI or, like, look at what Tron did.
Well, I mean, like
Disney,
Disney was going that direction. Like, they went that direction because it was smart to do so. But no, Lasseter has, as far as I can recall, one and only one credit as an animator for Disney. But he was an animator on Mickey's Christmas Carol. So if you watch Mickey's Christmas Carol,
I've seen it.
Actually look at the credits and don't just like be drinking eggnog during the credits or whatever. John Lasseter is the name there.
That's a good one too.
It is.
So it's a nice condensed list. It shouldn't be too hard to kind of go through and narrow it down with only technically 17.
17 because no one in this room has seen Cars 3, and also of those 17, at least a handful of them are definitely
so
not going
what
to be in
if
this top 5.
They all match and we all have the same lists?
That would be embarrassing.
Would it be possible? No. I don't think so.
I mean,
either.
mathematically it would be unlikely, but I'm also pretty sure that at least one of mine is a film that Rob does not like very much.
TBD.
All right, so kick us off, Kara. Number 5.
It's me?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Number 5. So here's the other thing with this. I had a lot of trouble. My biggest trouble wasn't picking the top 5. My biggest trouble was ordering the top 5.
I totally heard that.
Yeah. Okay.
I had no trouble this week.
I had all kinds of trouble up, down, and sideways.
Interesting.
I do want to ask a question.
Yeah.
Have either of you, or have both of you seen all 17 Pixar films?
Yes, I have.
I've seen a lot of them, like probably 12, I think, of the 17.
What I thought was fascinating, just looking at the list and then just going to the ratings, hey, it's all great stuff. It's all great. Almost every single one is ranked in the top 250 IMDb.
There's that. Only one of their films has ever been below 70 on Rotten Tomatoes. It went really far below. It was rotten. But even Cars still scraped by at 74.
You want to know why that is, though? I thought about it because I was like, I love all these movies. Like, even when I was looking at the full list, I was like, I love all of these on some level. I think they do the best job of appealing to adults in a way where it's relatable content.
Absolutely.
And it's like, but it's not the overt, like, poopy, haha, farty humor, like, that everyone can laugh at. It's the, like, layered in, like, subconscious fear, like, oh, your child is leaving, and then it addresses that, or it's like the death of a significant other and addresses that. Like, it does such a good job of tugging on the heartstrings of real people's concerns that you're drawn to. And I don't know, they do that in a real way that, I don't know, I loved all their movies, I think.
Do they do that with your number 5? What heartstring are they tugging on there?
Way to stay on target.
I do. That's my job.
Sorry, way to keep me on. Is with they do that for me in the 2015 Inside Out.
That is my number 5 as well.
Is it?
Yes. I was mistaken. Apparently, we're going to have identical lists.
A list. So we will.
Not on mine.
Not on yours.
I know.
So I saw this with my daughter, my 5-year-old Abby, and it's directed and written by Peter Docter. Every part of this movie tugged on those heartstrings. I was the aforementioned heartstring.
My feeling is that Doctor's films are the ones that are trying the hardest to make sure that you cry.
And they
I love
are
that.
successful. They're
I agree.
successful
I
in that.
completely
Like, I definitely cried in this. It stars Amy Poehler, Bill Hader,
Hader, I think.
Lewis Black, and Mindy Kaling. It's a young girl from the Midwest is moving out to San Francisco with her parents, and it's the emotions that she's experiencing within that move, and then it takes a different look, and it goes in and it breaks down, it personifies her feelings,
Right.
so that her emotions of joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness are personified in these. This sounds weird if you haven't seen this movie, but they're
I mean, that's the thing. If you haven't seen the movie, it sounds like you're having a
super
really
weird.
bad acid trip.
I know. They're personified in these little color bubbles, and it takes you into her mind as a young girl, and the way that they personify her emotions are exactly the emotions that you feel as a human and as an adult and as a child, and it's relatable as a child and as an adult to the feelings that you experience as you navigate life. And I loved this movie because it hit everything. I must be this little girl because I felt everything she
So I want to first add to your list of actors. You failed to mention Phyllis Smith, who plays Sadness, and I think gives the film its best performance.
Your Sadness is the best.
Sadness is the best.
Sadness
is
so
the best.
good.
Be sad all the time, everybody.
I actually think I thought Sadness was Melanie Linsky, maybe, but
It would have made sense. Like, she would have been a good Sadness.
good
but
Sadness.
Phyllis Smith also
Sadness was awesome. All the emotions. If I missed anybody, I try to keep it short, but Sadness agrees.
Sadness
was
is
awesome.
so good. But to your point that it's like, really smart about how emotions are experienced, the film is like accurate. I mean, we don't have little tiny homunculi wandering around in our heads, like knocking over shelves. The film is good neuroscience.
Yes.
Like, the film actually looks at how do neuroscientists and psychologists think that emotions work, and it turns that into an action adventure inside this little girl's head. And it's amazing.
And it's exactly what then it addresses this like long-term, short-term memory thing, which I love because literally everything that I ever remember is horrifying.
Yes.
And so there's this whole concept in there of like, is it going to end up as a permanent memory? And so like there's this whole fear of like both the adding and subtracting of permanent memories. Like the goal is to have as many positive permanent memories as possible. And yet, mostly in my case, most of my longest term memories are horrifying moments.
Well, I think what makes the movie great is that it's not saying have as many positive emotions. I think like the fact that a children's movie is saying this is fucking revolutionary. The movie is saying sometimes you need to feel sad, and that's the right way to feel, and be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
And sometimes you need sadness in order to conjure joy and happiness and all that stuff too. The whole thing, you walk out and you're just like, you feel like you have this lease on your brain. Like, oh, that was just a movie that was just shuffling my brain around in color bubbles, I don't know.
It is a beautiful movie. It's so colorful. It is a hell of a heartbreaker. Like the scene where the imaginary friend...
Oh, I know.
Operates.
It's so sad. And then tugs on that heartstring.
And for me, this was like right after I was in the process.
Your imaginary friend?
I lost my imaginary friend at the tender age of 33. No, I was in the process of moving. It was right after I signed my lease to move in May. I saw the movie in June. I was not super excited about moving to Madison. And there's this scene at the end where the little girl tells her parents, I want to pretend that I'm happy that I'm moving, but I can't. And like that just got to me. I'm actually right this second, I'm tearing up in this damn podcasting booth. It's like so good. And like that's the moment that spoke to me. So like you've got this like animated 12-year-old girl expressing something that made me like weep in the theater. And that's beautiful.
That's what he does is let me do something that everybody can identify with in the own way that you want to identify with it.
Right.
You know, like
Exactly.
you can create and that's what's epic.
Well, I'm an outsider on
I was
this
going to
one.
say, so what's your number 5, you stone emotionless monster?
Well, I feel like I've seen Inside Out many times in the 90s with Herman's Head, so
Oh, you didn't watch Herman's Head.
I totally watched Herman's Head.
You're a liar.
No, I was a Herman's Head fan.
All right.
But no, I love the premise of the movie. The problem for me was that I was distracted when
every
watching
time you
it.
watch it, we have like neighbors over or whatever. You need to watch
I
it.
need to watch it
yourself.
just to
You're
take
the
it in.
parent of young girls. How can this movie not leave you a quivering rat?
I just wasn't able to
Watch
pay
it
attention.
again.
I
Watch it
need
again.
to pay attention.
So good.
What I was able to pay attention to, seeing it for this, I think it was the first time with Carrie, with her mom, with her grandmother, and her great mother.
Don't do it.
2009's
You
Up. Also,
jerk.
you mentioned Pete Docter
Jerk.
and Bob Peterson in this case, drawing out a lot of emotion.
Took my number 1.
That's your number
It's
one?
my number
I'm
3.
so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. We'll jump in as well too. We thought that this would happen. So this stars Ed Asner, Jordan Nagai as the young Boy Scout,
So
Christopher
cute.
Plummer as the antagonist, and John Ratzenberger, who I believe is the voice of the dog Squirrel.
No, that's actually Bob Peterson.
That's Bob Peterson?
Yeah, John Ratzenberger has a
was he
very
doing?
small role. John
Oh.
Ratzenberger's in every single Pixar film.
Okay.
He is one of the foreman of the construction set, I think.
I love this. Thank you, Tim, because I don't know why he's listed very high up on the list there.
Because there's not that many people.
There's not that many.
No.
There's literally 3.
But the people who are in there are great. Mr. Carl Fredricksen. And I feel like I can't talk about this movie too much.
It's 96.
I
Yeah,
don't
think you
understand
can.
why.
96, 2009.
Oh, is it 2009?
2009.
Up?
Crap.
We're talking about
man.
Up?
My notes are bad this week. Sorry, man.
No, I can't. I don't want to talk about too much of the Up thing, but it's a little bit about not taking the life you had for granted, not thinking necessarily that maybe you didn't go to Machu Picchu, so you're that doesn't mean that your life isn't meaningful. It's meaningful in its own ways, and seeing it in the setting that I saw it with your family and everything like that, it really did conjure quite a bit of emotions. I like on its own without that storyline. Probably not. It's not. That's why it's number 5 for me. It's not number 1. But yeah, for that storyline alone, it does a lot for me. Carrie, I know it was your number 1, so I want you to have the freedom to make your case for it.
It was largely because what you said of like literally sitting in a room with my mom, my grandma, and my great grandma, like to have that many generations of people in one room, to have like the message fixated around like appreciating what you have in the small things sometimes, and identifying what's important and setting goals, and sometimes the things that you think are priorities aren't necessarily, and that life can be happy with the simplicities of life too. Like the opening sequence
The opening sequence.
is what makes the movie.
I'm biding my time. The opening sequence is everything.
It's everything.
It's so good.
I'd be okay with that just being like a short, like that.
It would be
that is a
such a
short.
rich-
I would,
Yeah.
because I was crying, I was weeping.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
Right
thing.
away.
What I love about Up, I'm a sucker for films that can do like all kinds of emotional tonal balancing. Up is a film that makes me weep buckets.
Yeah.
It is a film that makes me laugh as hard as any Pixar
Yep.
film. I think Doug is the perfect
Hilarious.
movie dog.
No.
He is the best dog in the movies.
Agreed.
I have a talking stuffed Doug toy.
Very sweet.
But yeah, the opening is just like, it's like what, 6 minutes? It's silent. It's using nothing but pantomime to just make us feel the entire lifetime these people have spent together, and then she dies.
In 3 minutes. Yeah, in 3 minutes to feel a whole lifetime. And it's a lifetime that it's for whoever you are, you can identify with a portion of that minute.
And
You know?
I love about it, like people always say, oh, Up is a great opening 5 minutes that then turns into a sort of whatever action adventure movie. I think it's a very good adventure movie. Like I think
Yeah.
that's slighting what it is. What it is very delightful. I think that what matters is that we have this goofy talking dogs in planes, giant birds flying a house with balloons, like this very ludicrous over-the-top cartoon. And then at the end, the emotional climax of the film is when he finds the book.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that
That's
makes me
the
cry.
moment.
The opening
I
scene
know.
makes me weepy a little bit. I just
know.
cry buckets
Yeah.
when
I
he looks at
know.
the picture of him and his wife in their old age and realizes that he has been living his adventure.
He
And then
had everything.
And then he gets to the last page and she
I
tells him to go
know.
on even though she knows she's going to die.
And I'm like,
now for the second time in this episode, I'm welling up with tears
I know.
talking about a movie.
because that's it. Like that's
So
your
we
whole
need-
life.
We
Like
need to stop talking about the sad Pixar movie, guys.
let's start. I'm gonna go to some happy ones.
If anyone says Toy Story 3, I'm going to have to excuse myself to go cry. Just P.S.
Just say that. I have tissues under your chair. For everything that you've said, the same thing. Like I love.
Karen and I
movies
have
that-
an expression too. It's about turning the page, and we've kind of used it ever since up to. That's why it should probably be higher up on my list. But just on the face value of the movie itself,
But you don't like feeling.
Yeah, I
so
don't
I
like
can
feeling.
understand
I don't
why.
like feeling.
It does. It does like
Your number
emotion.
one is Cars 2. I can already tell.
Cars too. It's airplanes.
I'm
Is that
quickly
Pixar?
changing
Is
that,
that
yeah.
Russian film.
Oh, that was terrible.
I know.
That was
But anyway, everything about this movie made me want to continue to appreciate my life as it is, and so I think that's what it does for everybody. And that's why it was my number one.
all right. We're off to number 4 now.
Is that
To be
my?
fair.
So is it to me for number 4?
That's
right. So number 4 for me is also on all of your lists. Is the flick WALL-E?
That is my number one.
Is it?
It is totally
I am
my
still
number one.
safe. I'm safe.
You're
You are
safe.
a bastard. Your number. Your
How can you not
list is
care
literally
about
going to be like
the
Finding Dory,
planet?
Cars 2, and Brave.
You don't care about the planet
I have
or
good
people.
dinosaur. I have good dinosaur on the list too, Tim.
Gluttony.
Yeah.
You don't care about any of this stuff. I've talked about this movie on several podcasts. I think it fell on like a budget podcast as well as I don't know, something else. But it's
Can never talk too much about
You can't
WALL-E.
talk enough about it. It's written and directed by Andrew Stanton, and it's the story of two adorable robots
Two adorable robots
who go out and
who
clean
fall
up the
in
world,
love.
and they fall in love.
And there's a
Not a lot of
scene
talking.
where
Appreciate
they are in
that.
space and they're dancing, and the pilot asks the computer to define dancing, and the computer does, and we're watching them dance, and it made me cry.
I know. All of these Pixar films. All of these Pixar
But
films.
no, for real, the opening 10 minutes, I think it's like 10 and a half. I've timed
Yeah.
it in the past. The opening of WALL-E is the best cinema produced in my lifetime. Full stop.
Wow.
It is a perfect short film. It uses nothing but just like this. It's silent, but it's not silent because it's got sound effects. It's got the Hello Dolly song. And it just wells up so much emotion from this little ugly boxy robot thing wandering around, listening to crappy show tunes with his friendly little cockroach buddy. And I just, everything about the opening
the
10 minutes
cockroach, yeah.
are just like how do you become that confident in your storytelling abilities to say, yes, this is how we're going to start our movie?
Yeah.
With this little wonderful Charlie Chaplin short about our robot who doesn't even have an actor. He has a sound designer for a voice, Ben Burt, who is just beyond amazing. So I mean, again, much with Up, it definitely gets weaker as it goes along. I think there's no doubt about that. But it has so much that's so good in the first hour. I don't think it could have possibly gotten bad enough for me to not love it.
And the overall message, I go back to
overall
the same
message is so
thing of
good.
like, what is this message on humanity that you can all look and be like, it's the Lorax story in a
Right.
film. Like, what are we doing to the world? And you look at these things and it's like these people that are supposedly these hyperboles of people are not really hyperboles. Like they're actually us. Like we are actually these people who are so fixated on, technology and social media and, like not moving and, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, the whole message of that story I thought was one that people are like, yeah, I love it. And then it's like, yeah, but it's real. I don't know.
It's just so good. And it's just like, you got to shout out to the animation, which is the
Yeah.
most perfect photorealistic animation.
And Eve.
I also have a talking Wally and a talking Eve.
I gotta come over and check out your place.
Yeah, your place is full.
It's full of Pixar paraphernalia.
stuffed dolls.
Pretty much.
So that was an Andrew Stanton.
Yes.
That's an Andrew
We'll
Stanton.
have to compare notes too on favorite Pixar director. My number 4. Is it to me?
Yeah.
Actually, is it to your... Well, you can take it. And I'll
Oh
do
yeah.
this one.
Do you want?
You can go now and I'll go
Okay.
after you.
Andrew Stanton directed my number 4, which is 2003's Finding Nemo.
That's my number 3.
All right, crossing.
This
us
is
off
the most
Did not
crossover.
make my list.
No.
I'm gonna have trouble like keeping track of who's next and what's.
This
what's
episode
going
is the
on.
most crossover we've ever had
Absolutely.
for
It was-
sure.
It
in
almost was going to
2 years.
have to be.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this movie. I you don't know this movie?
I said I
Oh,
know.
you do know this movie. Okay. Yeah,
It's on my list.
won an Oscar, which pretty much almost all Pixar movies do.
I'm trying to think. Have we yet named a film that did not win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature? I don't think we have.
No.
Not yet. But will we? That's the
No.
question.
I have one on my list.
I have one as well, but not for the reasons, possibly. Am I giving it away? I don't know. Finding
you do
Nemo.
have Cars 2 on your list.
I just like it a lot. I don't.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It's fun. The Albert Brooks doing the voice and Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen
Ellen
the bomb.
is great in it.
I love her.
Finding your lost, the adventure that Ellen and go on, unlikely pairing there to a kind of scared
Dad fish
scared of the world.
and amnesia fish.
Opening scene, horror sequence that
yeah.
he's left with just one egg that he cradles in his fins, and it made me cry.
I know.
Has the smaller fin as well too.
the little mini fin.
He has a
Very
special
sweet.
fin.
Yeah.
It's his
know.
special fin.
The friends he meets along the way, the turtles, the supporting cast in this is, from an animation perspective, is solid too. I really like all the jokes and the sense of humor. I'm a big Albert Brooks fan too, so
And it's one of the best Albert Brooks
it
performances,
really
for
is.
real.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much else to say other than that.
It's a good story. It's a complete good story that you feel good from beginning to end.
To me, it's the first Pixar film that really does feel like it was more for adults, which is crazy because children love it.
Yeah.
But like, it's so much about parenthood.
Yes.
And it's so much about how do you define yourself as a parent? Is that fair to your child to do that? What is the correct amount of freedom to give them? All of these issues that are so esoteric for a children's movie, and it just does them so beautifully, and it does them while also being a really funny comedy adventure.
Yeah.
And as you guys pointed out, Ellen DeGeneres and Albert Brooks are both terrific.
Yeah. Same thing. A parent heartstring, person heartstring, where it's like, you gotta like let them go, and then it's like, also, what do they find in themselves? What strength can they find in themselves when you let go?
Exactly.
And it's that whole story behind that too.
And then somehow they made the sequel even better.
I know you're lying, but I actually liked Finding Dory.
I don't dislike any Pixar film other than Cars 2, but Finding Dory would be the second from the bottom for me.
Yeah, your sarcasm's tough to read, man.
It wasn't that tough. That was actually layered pretty thick on that one.
All right,
but
I can't tell.
I didn't hate that movie just because I wanted to love it. Because I love
Dory
the
so Ed O'Neill octopus. I think Dory is better not as a tragic figure, and I think
know.
Albert Brooks is certainly better not as a fucking asshole.
I would agree.
And he becomes a complete fucking asshole in Finding Dory.
But I wanted to love it, so I'll just go on loving it. More than Planes, less than Finding Nemo.
That is a good broad range.
Good place to be.
Number 4 to you, Tim, since we skipped over you.
So we have finally come to a movie that did not make me cry. So this is a movie. There not that many Pixar movies never made me cry. So this is actually kind of a big deal.
This is monumental.
So this is the one where I'm going to potentially be accused of nostalgia. This is the one where I will have people say, but they did it so much better again later. But you got to give them props. When Toy Story, 1995, directed by John Lasseter, when this movie came out, nobody had done this.
It's my number 2.
It's my number 3.
So there you go. So we are clearly not the kind of people who are like, oh, but Toy Story's old. The animation in Toy Story is not very good. If you go back and rewatch it, especially after rewatching Toy Story 3, it looks kind of rocky and bad. I don't care. The story is so good. The songs are great. Like, You've Got a Friend in Me is such a wonderful tribute to friendship. You've got great Tom Hanks performance. My all-time favorite Tim Allen performance is in this movie. And it's Don Rickles, like the whole cast. I mean, you can't name a bad member of the cast. Wallace Shawn, John Ratzenberger, Annie Potts, a particular favorite of mine, gets a small role. It's just such a good, friendly movie. It does nothing wrong. Like, there's not a solitary thing in Toy Story. Literally every other one of the movies we've looked at, I would say, oh, well, you could have done that better. Even WALL-E. Toy Story doesn't do a single thing wrong.
No.
There's nothing wrong with this movie. This really great celebration of childhood imagination and the belief that, my toys totally are like chilling when I'm not here. And that's so cool to like make a movie about that. And again, it's to me, it's like loving Toy Story is like saying George Washington's a great president. It's less about what did this movie do and more just about this movie was the void. It just wandered in and was like, nope, we're going to do this. And it did it so damn well.
And it hasn't been the same ever since.
No.
And they've built on that, and that's why you have to pay homage to it a little bit. And that's why I put it on my list too. You mentioned not having a Oscar winning
Well, because the Oscar did not.
And that's what I was going to say. This is
an
interesting.
Oscar-winning film.
It is an Oscar. Oh, did it win?
It won a special achievement Oscar.
Oh, right. That's
did
right.
not win the best animated feature because the best animated feature Oscar came out in 2001.
Is that when it started? And that's what I was going to ask. And I'm curious how many it's lost. If Pixar has lost to a lot of. I didn't have
Monsters Incorporated the first year lost to Shrek.
Okay, that's a shame.
Cars lost to Happy Feet. Cars 2 was not nominated. Monsters University was not nominated. The Good Dinosaur was not nominated. And Finding Dory, I don't think was nominated.
I don't think
so the
so
only
either.
time they lost was Cars and Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah.
And Monsters Incorporated losing to Shrek is just bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, did you know that too? That the animated Oscars did not begin really until 2000,
No,
2001?
I did not know that. But I would have nominated Toy Story as being my number 2. I love this movie.
It's a great movie.
Again, heartstrings. It's like every single person has I had the doll that I believed that I needed to change its diaper and feed. Otherwise, its demise would be...
But not even that. Also,
the
dealing
result
with,
of me.
It would both starve and have diaper
if it
rash.
wasn't for me, right?
but also dealing with the dilemma growing up, but then also the dilemma of being replaced too, like feeling like something the better thing on the block comes around, and that you're not going to be the best end all be all. So the partnership that they form is the bond that they have is great, and having to work together to overcome. And the bully in that the neighbor Sid,
great villain.
Yeah, great villain. Great villain. Yeah.
I will say, I think the sequels both do a much better job of making me cry. Toy Story 3, I've only seen it, I think, 5 times, maybe 6, so I can't say that every single time I will ever watch it for the rest of my life. Every one of the times I have watched it, the last 20 minutes, I'm just blubbering.
What's the one with the big bear?
Toy Story 3.
That's 3, yeah.
That's the one.
That was sad.
That's the one where he's going to college.
That's so
and
sad.
And he leaves his toys with the little girl, and they play.
Ugh.
And then when he thinks that like he's going to give her Woody, and then he realizes he's giving her Woody, and he
needs
stops.
Woody.
But then he gives her Woody anyway because he knows she needs
I
him more.
know.
And then Woody waves goodbye, and it made me cry.
Stop crying, Tim. Stop crying. You're making me really sad. Totally agree.
But
All
anyway,
of these
so I love
things are
Toy Story 3.
My childhood traumas are rolled up in
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Deserved.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea where we are.
I'm done.
My number 3.
I've done all of mine.
So can you give us your top 5? Just so we have it
So
on the
number
books.
1 is Up. Number 2 was Toy Story. Number 3 was Finding Nemo. 4, Wall-E. And 5, Inside Out.
All right.
And I'm done.
I'm down to 2. I have 2 and 1.
I only have my number 2.
All right.
So how about you go with your number 2?
Got it. I'll go with number 2. And another Pete. I think I must like Pete Docter.
Pete Docter makes good pictures.
Also co-directed with David Silverman and Lee Unrich. I'm talking about 2001's the aforementioned Monsters Inc. that should have claimed
should have in
Oscar.
a walk. Should
This
have
was my number 6.
dunked on Shrek.
I laughed. This is probably
my
one of the
number
ones
6.
that I laughed the most in. I did not as many like crying moments. There were certainly some touching.
But there's the
touching.
scene where he thinks that he's never going to see her again.
Yes.
And then he opens the door and she says, "Kitty," and it made me cry.
She may be the sweetest form of a child ever put on screen.
She
whether
probably
animated,
actually is.
She is just a darling.
And they recorded it just by like following the girl, Mary Gibbs, I think is her name, just following her with a microphone and like figuring out how they were going to use what she was babbling about later.
Yeah.
And it's
and well done, because the babble is what works for me for her. But Billy Crystal and John Goodman, just
who plays the one eyeball guy? Who plays Fredrickson, or what's the guy with the one eyeball?
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski is Billy Crystal.
Oh, that's Billy Crystal. Yeah.
Sully is John Goodman.
John Goodman. That's right.
Gosh, I love it. I laughed.
It was good.
They've got a great
less
banter back and
heartstrings
forth.
for me. So I went on heartstring for the criteria for this.
I am unclear how heartstrings do not apply to Monsters Incorporated.
I mean,
he has to let Boo
monsters,
go, but he loves
like
Boo so much.
Great concept too. Original idea about screams powering, generating power for things, and then having to go in your dream. Like it was very inventive and creative. Original story for that, and then. Which you learned something from it as well too. I feel like you get something from it. But that girl, just so
she's
sweet.
so cute.
Yeah,
she's so good.
So that's my number. That was my number 2.
It's a good number 2.
So we were left with your number 2 and then my number 1.
I know what your number 1 is, and it's not the same as my number 2. My number 2, I'm sure it's not.
Let's see.
I'm very curious now. My number 2 is a film that I love first and above all because of the unbelievable perfection of its animation. And the unbelievable perfection of its animation matters because it is all about creating unbelievably perfect art. For Pixar, they do it in animation. For Remy the Rat, he does it in food. I'm talking about 2007's Ratatouille, directed by Brad Bird. It is I love food. And it is a movie that rewards loving food.
Especially soups, right? Like soup. Do you love soup?
Me or the movie?
The movie's about soup, right? Ratatouille is about soup.
Ratatouille is not a soup.
It's like a stew.
It's a stew, but in the movie, it is a like sort of column.
Like a column. Do you like?
It's very artistic.
It's a deconstructed
Columns?
It's a deconstructed
Okay.
Ratatouille, I think, in the movie.
But yeah, no. So it's just like A, it's a great foodie movie. B, it has, I think, a really amazing moment. You would not think this is one of the movies that makes me cry. It is. When the angry critic who has spent his entire life being so resentful of anything that's not perfect encounters a dish that makes him think of his childhood and realizes the joy of engaging with art for the sheer pleasure of art. I think it's just a very special moment.
You identify with that critic?
Identify with that.
I didn't
with that
cry
critic, Tim?
there.
I cried there.
Not on the column.
No, I mean, to me,
of
that's the
soup
thing. The movie
stew.
to me is not an anti-criticism movie. The movie is all about having the ability to recognize something that is truly great when you see it, having the ability to create something truly great, and having the ability to support people who are creating something truly great. So I think it's a movie about sort of communitarian efforts to bring to life works of art. And what is animation if not a communitarian effort to bring together a work of art? Wonderful casting. Patton Oswalt plays the rat. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The actor who plays the main human is a story artist, Lou Romano. Peter O'Toole plays the critic. Janine Garofalo plays the sort of very sarcastic love interest. It's funny, but not like super funny. It's mostly just this very pleasurable, nostalgic, like tribute to food, to Paris, to creating art. I just find it very rewarding and very moving.
I feel like the animation. So I've seen this one, but I've sort of forgotten about it a little bit. But I should probably watch it again. The animation in this seems so much far removed from the animation of all of these other movies that we've been talking about. Like, why is it so different? You know what I mean?
I am confused by
like
what you
meaning
mean.
like when I think about like Finding Nemo or I think about Toy Story, like the animation in Ratatouille seemed more like.
Are you saying that it is not well animated?
I'm
'Cause I
not
will
saying
take
that.
exception
No,
with that.
I'm not saying that at all. It seems more artsy.
It is. I think it is.
What is that?
It is by a pretty substantial margin. I think their most adult-y film.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. It's all about like.
I know what you're saying, Kid.
It's
I,
all
feel,
about-
I feel like it's not.
It's
I don't.
like-
Is it a different technique than they
I think
use for
it's-
like Toy Story
it's
or
the same
anything?
technique.
Okay, because it didn't. It maybe it
It's the
felt
same-
more hand
the same
drawn.
everything.
Maybe they're all hand drawn. I don't know.
No,
but it
none
felt
of them are
more-
hand-drawn.
Okay,
They're
yeah,
all
that's-
CG.
That's why
I think it's
feels
just like
different.
what it's depicting. It's like I said, it's in love with France.
Yeah.
Like, so it's all about like the woodwork and stonework and just like these sort of aged spaces
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Paris.
Yeah, it's not that you're saying. You're not saying it's bad. It's just different than a
no.
lot
It was
of the
just
other
like I
Pixar
would
movies.
picture it from a different genre.
Like the
completely.
technology is, well, I mean, I would agree with that to
Yeah.
a certain degree. It's really the only one of their films that doesn't ultimately turn into a chase.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
kind of does, but not really.
I like. We own Ratatouille. I love Ratatouille.
Yeah, it's good.
I should have guessed that your love of food and the fact that there's a critic in there and
And the
for
rat.
France and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
rat.
also possibly my all-time favorite Michael Giacchino score.
Oh,
There's
okay.
like a mouse in
Very
there, right?
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, no, that's
They're
the
all
whole.
rats.
They're all rats. Yeah.
I know.
So Tim, you were pretty confident. You know what my number one is.
Wait,
Go
what
for
is it?
I want to know.
Is it The Incredibles?
It is in fact The Incredibles, another Brad Bird movie. Well done, Tim. What was the giveaway?
You?
What's my tell?
Just being you.
Your
I appreciate
face.
that. That means a lot. That we're
Your
starting
face.
to know.
Yeah.
We're starting to know.
The
Yeah.
spandex you're wearing right now.
And long overdue for a sequel that we're finally maybe
Thank
going to get.
God.
I don't know how. Maybe they'll bring back. I guess the majority of the actors are still around. I don't know what they'll do with the kid actors and what the story will be. I
Well,
hope
I
they
mean,
do it
given
justice.
that Sarah Vowell was like in her 40s when she recorded the role initially, I think.
Oh, is that what it was? See, I
Yeah, the
didn't- I
daughter
didn't
was
know.
not a child.
Okay. Sounded very much like a child.
She's an NPR correspondent, I believe.
Oh, that's Sarah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one who plays Violet.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Well, I'm a big superhero buff, and this is probably one of my favorite superhero movies.
It is.
It may I don't want to give it away because we might do top 5 super. I think we were doing top 5
no doubt in my
superheroes.
mind, it's my favorite superhero movie of the superhero boom of the 2000s.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just well
good.
done, well executed. It's also the dealing with kind of aging. I think we had her as my top 5 moms as Holly Hunter's character.
good.
Says
This is
everybody.
incredible.
So good.
Like moms do.
So dealing with not being able to, you've aged past, or you're not able to
Past your prime.
You're past your prime, and having to go back and kind of getting the virility of being able to go back and kind of taste greatness once again, and then bringing your family back into the fold too. I don't know. It's great.
It was good.
Yeah, and Jason Lee as the villain, awesome. So yeah, this was my number one. I'm excited when I see it on TV. We own this one as well too. I'm happy to put it in any time and rewatch it.
Yeah, it doesn't get
multiple
old.
viewings. It never gets old for me. So yeah, long overdue for a remake there, or for not remake, but a
the
sequel.
sequel comes out almost exactly in a year. It's June 15th, 2018.
One for sound editing as well, I believe, an Oscar.
It was one
And
of the
up for a
first
couple
movies. So this came out I think it came out in November of 2004. So right after I got out of film school, second time I ever sat in a movie theater and thought to myself, damn, this movie has a great sound mix. And it didn't win for the sound mix. It won for the sound edit, but it has really amazing sound.
Yeah, I think nominated for that, and maybe a couple others as well too. But
Good pick.
yeah, good
And
picks all around, everyone.
Also a very good Michael Giacchino score.
Yeah.
Very, very James Bondy in the best way.
Yeah.
Well, every episode we randomly select one member of our audience who shared their pick based on the feedback. This week, here is the audience's top 5 Pixar movies. Tied for number 5, we have Up and Finding Nemo. Great selections. At number 3, we have Ratatouille. At number 2, Toy Story. And number 1, the audience's favorite pick, most typed in, I guess, WALL-E at number 1. And our lucky winner, Justin McElroy, who wrote in on Facebook, I believe, wrote in with The Incredibles. So great selection, Justin. Justin, shoot us an email at contact@alternateending.com for details on how to claim your free movie rental. If you want to win a free movie like Justin, be on the lookout for a spoiler alert or top 5 movie posts on Facebook and Twitter to share your favorite picks. Thanks everyone for listening. Be sure to go out as always to social media. Check us out on Facebook. We're always doing stuff out there, recapping updates. Same thing goes with Twitter. Alternating.com, that's where you'll find all of our movie reviews, podcasts, episodes, and more. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. And tune in for our show next week, where we'll be doing our top 5 robots, just in time for Transformers: The Last Night. Catch you then.